Welcome to the From Fatigue to Energy workshop. I am so glad you are joining me today. I have a number of things I want to talk about today so I can share with you my journey from fatigue to good, sustainable energy, but also some steps that you can take to help you regain your energy and ditch the fatigue. I know how difficult it is to live in a constant state of fatigue, and it's not where we want to be. So I hope that this workshop helps you. I have struggled with fatigue for many years. It has been a challenging journey. So I have gone from college. So I think it probably all started in college. I was a music major. And there's a lot of practicing, a lot of performances. There's a lot of pressure on you to do all the things. And it was exhausting. And then right out of college, I got married and I put my husband through to get his master's degree. And then we moved a couple more times and then started having babies. And babies, your hormones go nuts. It is exhausting raising kids. As much as they are amazing and wonderful, it's still exhausting. So just getting out of college, putting my husband through getting his master's degree, and then having kids. So it's a lot already. Hormones are all over the place. And then life kind of threw us a very unexpected twist. I have two kids. They're 2 years apart. And when my youngest had just turned 1, my husband was diagnosed with cancer. You don't expect to hear that when you're 29 years old. And so that really threw us for a loop. And it was a lot for obvious reasons. It was exhausting. It was 3.5 years of constant busyness, stress, appointments, the doctors telling you that, this medication that we're going to do is going to fix things, and then it doesn't. And then they have to go in and do another biopsy, and hospital stays, and for weeks at a time sometimes. And with 2 little kids on top of that, it was a lot. And as the time went on, it was obviously hard on my husband's body. It wore his body down. And eventually he passed away 3.5 years after the journey started. So for me at that point, I was just trying to keep my head above water. During the process of his treatments and hospital stays and all of that busyness, those 3.5 years, I was also diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. The doctors will tell you that they don't know what causes ulcerative colitis. It is an autoimmune disease, but it is often brought to the surface because of stress. And there was definitely a lot of stress during that time. So that was kind of why my ulcerative colitis, why it decided to show itself. So then I was dealing with grief and anxiety and stress of being a single parent. And I was trying to keep everything together on my own. At the time we lived in Maine and were part of a wonderful church, had lots of friends, but we also lived kind of out away from town. So anywhere we had to go was at least a 10 to 20 minute drive just to get to town. And if we wanted to do some significant shopping, we had to drive 20, 30 minutes or more sometimes. So it was a lot to handle, being the only one. So the kids always came with me. Finances were tight, so I rarely hired a babysitter. They usually just came with me. And so I was running on fumes, severely running on fumes for many, many years. In 2012, so my late husband passed away in 2009. I'll give you a little bit of context. So he passed away in 2009. In 2012, I suddenly broke out in hives, head to toe for unexplained reasons. No idea where they came from, why they suddenly appeared. I just know that all of a sudden my arm started itching. And when I went to go see what was going on, I had this giant patch of hives. So I thought it was a one-time thing. I took some Benadryl, which in hindsight, I would never do again. But I took some Benadryl. It kind of like that helped, but it made me really sleepy. And then I figured that was it. Well, the next day they came back, but it was worse the next day. And it was awful. It was awful. So that happened for about a week. And then on like day 8, they were gone. And I'm like, oh, hooray, it's done. It's all done. I celebrated too soon because they came back the very next day. And I struggled with chronic hives for 3 years. For 3 years, I had hives on one level or another. For most of that time, my legs were covered. And for about probably a full year, I was pretty much covered from my neck down. It was rough. So the only relief that I found overall was keeping myself on the cool side. Now, I don't like to be cold. I am a warm weather girl. I love heat. I love sunshine. But if I got warm, my legs would break out in hives, or they would start crawling up my neck and you could see them appear. So I would keep myself a little bit on the cooler side. And the only other thing that worked for me was lavender essential oil diluted in probably about 5 to 10 drops of lavender essential oil diluted in about 1/4 cup of olive oil. And then I would literally slather myself head to toe. I would do that in the morning, and then I would do that before I went to bed at night. And that helped to cool the heat of the hives. Anybody who has experienced hives knows that they are hot, inflamed, and super itchy. And that just helped to cool them down some. So that was another piece. I wasn't sleeping well. I had hives because of that. The hives were keeping me from sleeping, but the hives may have been there because I wasn't sleeping. So it was kind of this catch-22. I was kind of in a stuck spot. So other contributors to my fatigue were unbalanced hormones. And I know we have all been there. So, you're not always eating the best food, especially when you have small kids. You're just kind of eating what you can when you can. And I have a sweet tooth. So I really liked my desserts. I liked my oatmeal for breakfast, but with like brown sugar on it, and a smoothie, but it had to have sweetness in it, or baking cookies with my daughter, different things like that. I was running on fumes. I had been on birth control pills for many years. So that started in 1998. And I went off of them with my first child, obviously, so I could get pregnant. And she was born in 2002. And then I stayed off until after my second, and then went back on. Because it was shortly after that my husband was diagnosed, and we did not want to take any chances. But that messed my hormones all up. Having babies, as I've mentioned before, can really, they play with your hormones, and your hormones go crazy after having a baby. Lots of stress. And I was unaware of how dangerous cleaners that I was using, candles I was lighting, body products I was using, because they all contained fragrance or some kind of scent that was man-made, which is an endocrine disruptor, and that really fools with your hormones. I also had adrenal fatigue, which was diagnosed right around the time I had my hives. It was a little bit after my hives broke out in 2012. It probably started in college. From all the college is, a unique time in your life, but you don't get a lot of sleep while you're at college. Constantly in fight or flight mode. My body didn't know how to slow down and shut down and relax. During the 3.5 years that my husband was going through treatments, it was obviously very stressful. And so I was always on edge and wondering, when is the next shoe going to drop? Because it just kept getting worse. and worse. And each diagnosis was scary. And your body is just like, okay, I have to be ready for this. I have to be ready for the next thing and be ready to fight. So your body produces cortisol when you're stressed. And if you're constantly stressed, your body eventually runs out of cortisol to produce from your adrenal glands, and your adrenals become sapped. And that was where I was. I didn't have anything left to fight with, to run away with if I needed to. And also grief and anxiety. Those both were big contributing factors to my adrenal fatigue and just being worn out. So I'm going to tell you a few steps that I took to gain my energy back. So the first thing was that I asked for help. This is not an easy one as women, as moms, to do. Society has ingrained in us that we are strong and we are capable, and we are, but that we also have to do it all. And that is a lie. We don't have to do it all, and we should not do it all. God has not intended us to be an island and to do all of the things all of the time without asking for help. So I asked for help. God designed us to need help and to help others. The way that I asked for help, I ended up actually moving in with my parents for a few months and then moving to where they lived and buying a little house down the street. For you, that might look different. But for me, I had to move. And I started counseling during that time, and that helped me process all of the things that we went through with John, my first husband, as he was going through treatments, and then also helped to process my emotions and how I was handling things and figuring out why I was struggling with so much anxiety and fear and hopelessness. The second thing I did was I cleared my schedule. I cut everything except church. That was about the only thing that I did. Obviously, I still took care of my kids and made them food and made sure they were provided for, but no extras at all. And I rested and napped when possible. The third thing I did was I stopped exercising completely. My mindset at that time was I was struggling with the need to control everything, whether it was diet, exercise, my kids' schedule, just things that were happening in my life because I felt so out of control. And so exercise became one of the things, and I kind of became obsessed about exercise. And that was a piece that caused my fatigue. So I completely cut it out. And for me, I think that was necessary. I was wearing myself out. And so eventually I was able to ease back into stretching, maybe a little bit of yoga and Pilates. And then gradually I went from there. Number 4, I made sleep a priority. It was not happening well. I would lay in bed and just be awake. So I took steps to ensure that my environment was good when I was going to sleep. I wasn't watching TV right away, right before I went to bed. So sleep became a priority, including naps. And I know I had mentioned that before, but I found that when I gave myself permission to nap during the day and took that time to that very specific self-care step, that I actually slept better at night. I know it sounds counterintuitive, and I thought it would be counterintuitive to nap and then be able to sleep at night. But let me tell you, I was so deprived of rest and sleep that once my body started getting it, it couldn't get enough. And not that I slept all day, but I had to take a nap each day, and it was a decent nap. And then when I did that, I slept better at night. I made some dietary changes and tried to nourish my body with good food. So the biggest things I did was I cut sugar, dairy, and gluten. And those are 3 pretty big categories. Excuse me. And they seem impossible, but when you start making those changes and you start feeling better, it's incredible. I started several key supplements to balance my hormones and to support my energy. And I'll talk about those in a few minutes. So, some steps that you can take now that you can do. So, we hear this, and I think it's easy to hear and not apply or forget to apply it. So, the first thing is no screens 1 to 2 hours before bed. The blue light from screens stimulates our brains. And so it's hard to settle down after you've been watching TV late into the night or on social media or maybe journaling even on your computer. Those things can stimulate your brain. So instead, read a book or maybe journal with a pen and paper. It's a lost art. Maybe play a game with your family. We love board games, so we do a lot of games at our house. So number one is no screens 1 to 2 hours before bed. Number two, get plenty of sleep if possible. I know that's not possible for everyone, but it is very, very important. So do what you can to change things in your schedule. Maybe hire a babysitter if you need someone to watch your kids so you can take a nap, or send them over to a friend's house for a play date if you need to. Number three, nourish your body with nutrient-dense foods. A lot of food that is claimed to be food that comes in a box has a lot of ingredients in it that really are not food. And so they're not nourishing our bodies. They're not feeding our bodies what they need to be healthy. And if we're not healthy, we are depleted and our body is not nourished. We start gaining weight or we start losing weight at crazy amounts, and we're wondering, why is this happening? Number four, make some dietary changes. Reduce your sugar intake. If you can't cut out added sugar altogether, at least reduce it. So if you are used to having, let's say, 2 scoops of sugar in your coffee every morning, start cutting back. Cut back to 1 scoop. Try to drink it without sugar. When I first started drinking coffee, and I don't drink coffee anymore. When I first started drinking coffee, I was an adult and had to have it sweetened and could not handle it if it wasn't sweetened. And then I realized how much sugar I was actually consuming in a day. And if you have 3 cups of coffee and you put 2 scoops of sugar in every single cup of coffee, that's a lot of sugar just in your coffee. So I started reducing my sugar. So reduce your sugar, and remove or reduce inflammatory foods. So inflammatory foods would be gluten and dairy are 2 of them. Some people have trouble with grains. I cannot eat grains. They are inflammatory to my system, and I feel so much better without them. Dairy is highly inflammatory. So that is another one to at least take a look at and maybe start reducing, if not cutting it out altogether. I know cheese is a hard one to give up, and that was a really hard one for me to give up. But I think you'll find that you will have more clear thoughts. Your brain won't feel foggy. You will start feeling less puffy and bloated. Give it a try, see what happens. All right, so no screens 1 to 2 hours before bed. Get plenty of sleep. Nourish your body with nutrient-dense foods. Make some dietary changes. Reduce your sugar, remove or reduce inflammatory foods, add more fruits and vegetables. And number 5 is balance your hormones and support your thyroid. And that was a big piece to my puzzle, was balancing my hormones and supporting my thyroid. So I'm going to talk about a few key supplements. But you need to know, when you are ready, you need to give yourself a few months to see changes. You didn't get into this situation of this debilitating fatigue overnight. It happened gradually over time. And to fix it, it's not going to be a overnight thing. It's not an immediate fix. It's going to take time, but it will help. It will help tremendously. When you're ready to start, be patient. And I always recommend to make changes for at least 3 months, whether you're adding supplements, making dietary changes, or all of the above. Try it for 3 months before deciding, oh, this isn't working. It's easy to throw in the towel when you go a week or 2 and you don't feel any better. You got to be consistent, and it's going to take time. Um, excuse me. So the supplements that I'm going to be talking about are not like prescription medication that use chemicals that force your body to do something. These supplements work with your body to nourish it and support it, and it helps your body do what it's supposed to be doing. So it's not going to force it into submission and say, okay, so you have fatigue, so we're going to do this and make you not have fatigue anymore. No, it's going to gradually work with your body and help you lose that fatigue and gain energy, but in a healthy way. So the first one that I want to talk about is Super B. I hope you can see that. There we go. That's better. Super B. And these are all Young Living supplements. I only recommend these supplements. I am not familiar with very many other companies, but these are amazing supplements. So Super B, it's called Super B because it is super. And it also contains all of the B vitamins. So all of them. They are formulated in such a way so that they do not cause you tummy trouble. It is recommended to take it with food because one of the B vitamins, I believe it's nope, I'm not going to say which one it is because I don't remember if it's B3. It might be B3, I'm not sure. But anyway, it's also known as niacin. And sometimes you can get a red flush on your face if you take Super B without food. So just take it with your breakfast. The recommended dosage is 2 tablets. So you can take 1 at breakfast, 1 at lunch. You can take 2 at breakfast, 2 at lunch. It is a really good support for your energy. Your body does not store B vitamins. You have to get them either from your food or from a supplement. So we generally don't get enough B vitamins from our diet. So, and as I said, it contains all of the B vitamins all of them. And your body needs all of them. The second one is EndoFlex. This is an essential oil blend by Young Living. And anyone with hormones, whether you're male or female, should be using this oil. It is fantastic. And this helps with energy because it supports your thyroid, it supports your adrenals, it supports your liver, it supports everything. It's so incredible. So I use mine topically, and I put a roller top on mine, and I usually do 1 swipe on my neck. I do another swipe on my wrists, and I rub them together, and then I do a swipe on my mid back right over where my adrenals are to support my adrenals. It supports your energy. Like I said, it is fantastic. It also comes as a vitality oil, which can be taken internally. So the difference in the labels, you'll see that. The vitality oil is a white label. The non-vitality is this. They're the same oil. It's just required by the FDA to label it with the white label for internal consumption. So you can put a couple drops in your water. You could get a vegetable capsule and put a couple drops with a carrier oil in there and take it as a pill into your system. There's a number of different ways that you can do that. Ningxia Red. I don't go a day without Ningxia Red. This has to be my favorite supplement. And if you were going to start with just one supplement, this is the one I would recommend. It is phenomenal. It is a juice puree, not a juice puree. It is a fruit puree. So some people call it juice, but it really isn't a juice. It's much more than that. It is from the Ningxia wolf berries is the main ingredient, which are highly antioxidant, much more so than any other fruit or vegetable that we consume. So inflammation will plummet by taking Ningxia Red and drinking plenty of water. The Ningxia Red reduces the antioxidants in the Ningxia Red, reduce the inflammation, and then the water helps to flush out the inflammation as you drink that. So, and it's super yummy. When you look at it, it's kind of red, so it reminds you of like tomato juice or something like that. It does not taste like that. It tastes like cherries. It's very yummy. My kids, my husband, myself, we all drink it daily. We've noticed clarity of thought. So brain fog lifted. We have noticed better energy. Our energy is supported with this. Inflammation has gone way down for all of us, which includes fatigue. It includes weight if needed. Weight will drop as you reduce inflammation. It includes bloating, maybe digestive inconsistencies. I struggle with that with ulcerative colitis, and Ningxia Red really helps to keep my system regular. Better sleep. Oh my goodness, I think that was the first thing I noticed when I started consuming Ningxia Red was really good, deep sleep and refreshing sleep. And I'd wake up ready for the day, which hadn't happened in a long time. I did a 30-day challenge when I was first dipping my toes into Ningxia Red. And the challenge was to drink 2 ounces of Ningxia Red, so 1 pouch, or if you get the bottles, you can just measure out 1/4 cup, which is 2 ounces. And so the 30-day challenge, you drink 2 ounces per day and just record what you notice. So the sleep was the first thing I noticed. I noticed my hormones were balancing. My cycle was easier. I had less bloating and less cramps, less breakouts on my face. I had good energy, really supported energy, but not like from caffeine. Caffeine or sugar will give you a quick energy burst and then you crash later. There was no crashing with Ningxia. And it just gives me consistent energy throughout the day. Excuse me. So those are the 3 main supplements that I recommend. So Super B and Endoflex, Ningxia Red. If you're going to start with just one, I highly recommend Ningxia Red. But they're all really good and they will support your body the way it needs to be supported. I am part of a group that is doing something called the 11-day jumpstart. And if you follow me on social media, you have probably seen many of my posts about the 11-day jumpstart. The 11-day jumpstart is actually free. And it is so amazing. So for free, you get access to a bunch of recipes. You get a daily journal that walks you through step-by-step what you're going to do. Exercise videos. You get daily coaching from the woman who runs this with all kinds of tips and tricks and really good support within the Facebook group that this is based around. The only thing that you need to do to purchase for the 11-day jumpstart is the starter bundle for the Ningxia Red. So here you go. You'll want to get the starter bundle for that. The rest of the jumpstart is completely free. So you get the free coaching, you get the free recipes, the meal plans, the all of the guides. There's files in the group that have how to do cleaning. So eliminate the toxins that are in your house. How do you find clean beauty products? All of that, and then eating out. How do you eat clean when you eat out? So there's a lot of really excellent teaching and excellent coaching, really good recipes, lots of support in the Facebook group. It has been incredible to watch the changes that have happened. We've been building relationships. People have started the Jumpstart in January and not stopped. They're continuing to notice differences like weight loss, lots of weight loss, bloating and discomfort reducing, brain fog being lifted. People who haven't been able to wear their wedding rings for years are suddenly able to put them on their fingers. Inflammation in joints is going down. People are not feeling stiff when they get out of bed. Their grandparents are able to get down on the floor and play with their grandkids. So many amazing benefits. I could go on and on about that. Numbers are being lowered. So lab numbers, actual blood work that are in alarming areas are getting healthy again. And doctors are going, what are you doing? And they just tell them, we're drinking Ningxia Red and we're eating paleo. And they're like, that's amazing. So it really works. It's so amazing. So the main components, like I said, are Ningxia Red, Water, you drink half of your body weight in water, which is super important anyway. We eat paleo diet and exercise. Now, there are exercise videos in the group that you can follow, but basically, you want to move more than what you are now. For myself personally, I walk a lot. I mostly do walking. Sometimes I'll do some weight training, and I always stretch too, just to keep from your body getting stiff. So all of that combined together helps your inflammation to reduce dramatically. So think about what you would like to experience for change in your body. What are some things that are happening? Do you have brain fog? Do you have a few extra pounds to lose? Maybe you have a specific joint that's been giving you trouble for a while. Or you just want to feel better. You want to lift your fatigue and feel better. This is definitely a good place to start the 11-day jumpstart. Please contact me with any questions. I will put my information below. And if you need to reach out, if you want more information about the supplements I talked about, again, reach out. I would love to chat with you and give you more information. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you again soon, and I hope this was helpful. Again, any clarification, reach out anytime. Thank you so much.